Zagatoti2744 here today to talk about a topic that I would normally write an article on, but I've realized recently that the majority of my community consists of people on YouTube, and that's where I get the majority of my views and the attention. And with this topic, I feel as though it's something that I want to go ahead and present to my YouTube channel rather than my website. Of course, it will be posted on my website, but I wanted to go ahead and make a video completely centered around this, so it's kind of like a podcast article type thing. But what I wanted to go ahead and talk about is the iPad 3rd generation Retina Display, and the majority of the people come out and they say, well, it's great. It is great. It's got a 1536 or a 2048 by 1536 display. It looks amazing. It's everything that I would have thought I'd get out of this tablet. It's the highest resolution tablet out there compared to any other tablet. It's a higher resolution than a 1080p HD TV. It is an amazing display. The enhanced applications for the Retina display look amazing. But the first problem is those enhanced applications, those iBooks, and those magazines and newsstand take up so much more memory. And I feel as though 16GB iPad 3rd generation users, 16 gig isn't going to cut it. You know how I know? Because I went out and I purchased the 3rd generation iPad 16GB, and that was probably one of the biggest mistakes in ever purchasing or using an iPad that I've ever made, because of the fact that an iPad 2nd generation, I got a 16GB model and it was great. It had all the memory I needed. I really didn't need that much. I didn't ask for that much. It worked out fine. So I thought, you know, the iPad 3rd generation with 16 gig would work out fine as well. I thought about the 32 gig, but I finally ended up going with the 16 gig, which now is a mistake because of the fact that I do have a few Retina Display enhanced applications on my iPad already, and it's kind of an issue because it takes up so much space. That's why I'm saying if you haven't bought an iPad 3rd generation yet, I would go for a 32GB or at least a 64GB just to ensure that you never run out of space, because I feel as though, considering the fact that I've already used up half my gigs of memory on my 16 gig, it's becoming an issue because I don't have that many applications on the device right now, and I'm really not enjoying the fact that I feel as though I'm going to be running out of memory pretty soon because all these Retina Display graphics are taking up a lot more memory than any other displays graphics out there than the previous iPad 2 and the iPad before that. So the second issue is not every single developer has gone out and enhanced their applications to the Retina display, and it could be quite some time until many of these developers do so. So basically what you're seeing with some of these applications is very pixelated images. Now, I'm not talking as bad as an iPhone application on an iPad in which you have to go in 2x zoom. I'm not talking that bad, but as you can see in the photos I show you on screen now, through Facebook, for example, Facebook not optimized for the iPad 3rd generation Retina display, you can see the check-in symbol next to check-in is fairly pixelated, and when staring at that all the time, because there are quite a few symbols in Facebook, it kind of gets a little bit irritating. Now in Xbox Live here, it's optimized for the iPad 2 and the iPad 1 screen display, and with the Retina display on the iPad 3, it kind of have to stretches out that application, in which makes Xbox and Live and the sign-in button a little bit less graphical than the other on the iPad 2 and so on, because it kind of has to stretch it out more pixels. 4 times the pixels makes it so it has to be stretched out if it's still optimized for the iPad 2, as the majority of applications are. Now, as you can see with the application icon, the weather channel that is not optimized for the Retina display, or the one I have on my iPad here, compared to the default applications that are optimized for the Retina display, it's a lot more pixelated, and you can definitely see this with the bare eye, which is kind of an issue. Now, even a bigger issue yet is when you go into Newsstand and you download a magazine. Now, I've never really been into using Newsstand and magazines and reading on my iPad, but recently I've downloaded Engadget's Distro magazine, and it's great. I love it because it's all about electronics, and I like all these free electronic magazines in Newsstand. So I'm going through reading some of them, and I've noticed that downloading some of them takes forever. It takes up so much space. You know, essentially these magazines are just JPEGs stacked up on top of each other, and when they're enhanced for this display, it takes up so much time to go ahead and download them. And then on top of that, some of these magazines can take up to 1 GB of memory, which is just insane. That's why I'm saying 32 gig, 64 gig at least. And you know what? Maybe the next generation of iPad will have an even higher gigabyte amount. Maybe they'll get rid of the 16 gigabyte, because I feel as though the 16 gig isn't even cutting it for these applications and magazines. So you know what, going through reading them, they look great, but when you run into the ones that are not optimized for the iPad 3rd generation Retina display, they'll download fast, and then you'll look at them, and since they have small text and you can't zoom in or anything, the text on there in these magazines that are not optimized for the Retina display look fairly pixelated. And the reason why some of these developers don't want to go ahead and optimize their application for the Retina display is because of, like I said, it's going to take up a lot more memory. And that's an issue, because if you have a 16 gigabyte iPad, it's going to be an issue from here on out pretty much with the iPad 3rd generation. So you really kind of have to watch out for how much memory you have on your device if you have a 16 gig or maybe even a 32 gig in this case. So like I said, hopefully the developers do go out there and they start enhancing their applications for the Retina display. Unfortunately, the case is that many are not going to be doing that, or at least anytime soon, and you're going to have the pixelated look, which kind of sucks. And with magazines, like I said, it's going to be taking up a lot more memory, which is my biggest concern with this Retina display. Other than that, the 2048 by 1536 display on this iPad 3rd generation is top of the line. It looks great. I'm overall impressed with it, besides the fact that it's definitely wearing out the memory. I want to go ahead and thank you guys for watching this iGuitar2744. Visit in the description below, find me on Facebook and Twitter, as well as check out iOSnova.com for up-to-date iOS news. Leave your comments and thumbs up. Let me know what you think about the Retina display. Of course, like I said, it looks great, but those are some of the problems with the Retina display as it is. Every single screen update, there are these issues, which is something that some people didn't take notice of, and I wanted to go ahead and note in this video. If you like this video, go ahead and subscribe for more, and once again, thank you for watching. This is iGuitar2744.